Yeah, hi. Thank you, Navina. Hi, everyone. Ameer, Karan, Kunal, Pooja, and Vineet. We have uh, very little time as we discovered from the earlier panel, so I'm going to come down to it very quickly. At the turn of the century, a typical marketer had, uh, maybe an agency or three of all kinds to communicate with or her consumers. Over time, whatever research we've done shows that typically marketers tend to have deal with 5 to 10 specialists. Okay, and I think what's happened is that they do want to give out the work because the platforms have increased. So has the means of communication. Therefore, more agencies. One of the things that's also happened is that, but they are more comfortable with certain agencies than with others. So they tend to say, "Hey, could you do this as well?" rather than go to one more agency to deal with. In the course of that, I mean, PR agencies have been around for a long time and they have gained size, right? Uh, PR agencies have demands have also been made on PR agencies over the past many years to do things which are normally beyond their ambit, right? So this conversation is about that. Hence, how far is too far? Okay, and does the so this is new business? It's more business, but does it take agencies away sometimes from what their core purpose is? That's what the subject of the discussion is. Let's do the normal alphabetical thing. May I invite each of you to speak for at least 1 minute or at most 2 minutes, and just give an overview of how you see the issue. Ameer, would you like to start, please?
Yes, good evening, Sreekant, and thank you for having us here. But I'll get away with the pleasantries because of the paucity of time. So I think I'll start by saying the pandemic was a trigger moment to reimagine and re-strategize our business.
Right.
On a personal level, we all got a chance to reset priorities. But just to correct you, I've seen clients who have 16 agency partners.
Okay.
So it's it's a confusing ecosystem for clients as well. And we leapfrogged into digital in every way, shape, or form. So you really can't blame clients for wanting to integrate their desires, their asks with a single agency partner. So that's certainly happened. And all of this has changed the dynamic of agencies and agency models. I think we've had to, recast the net to see what is it that's relevant to clients' businesses, and how do we model ourselves accordingly. And this has gone all the way up to holding companies that today have multiple brands, agency brands in a single market.
Correct.
We belong to IPG. IPG has multiple, PR agencies. There's Karan, who's a fellow IPGian. So you have all these complexities that agencies are dealing with, holding companies are dealing with, and I think it's only going to give a rise to innovation, consolidation, and partnerships where one can see a benefit to delivering this kind of service. In the middle of all of that, the last thing I'll say is you've got a lot of technology that is embedding itself in everything that we do, and the potential of actually everything that we can do. So it's a confluence of challenges, right?
Sure.
But a very interesting moment in time for PR, which was hinged on these lovely relationships and so on, which is long gone. It's the power of the content and the tech.
Okay, Ameer, I'll come back to you. Hey, Karan, would you like to take that forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've been talking about this for 10, 12, 15 years. The whole act of to what extent do we go, what do we do, and what's in our realm, it's nothing new. The last 2-3 years might have fueled what a 15-year-old conversation and journey of transformation would have been, but it was not radically different from what was being discussed already in place. So, the way I look at it is that the concept of too far is subjective and context dependent. It's highly context dependent. And rather than focusing on the notion of going too far, the real key consideration is what is appropriate level of stretch for an agency, its talent, its services that allows to remain relevant. I think the key is the fact that we need to be relevant to the C-suite. We need to be relevant to not just vanity metrics of all sorts, but rather to the key business objectives and the outcomes that a business wants to drive. Back all of this up with innovation, back all of this up with constant training, back all of this up with an innate sense of questioning oneself to say, is this the best that we can do? And what happens is you will never ask how far is too far as long as authenticity is at the center of all that you do.
Okay.
That's really the way we look at this entire situation.
Okay, well said, Karan. Kunal, hi. Hi, Kunal.
Hi,
Hi.
hi everyone. For me, I'll take a step back, try and understand what is the purpose, because you talked about how far are we going away from our purpose. And if I look back, while the purpose for any public relation organization, professional, has been from the beginning in terms of one, looking at how do you bring in ability to drive conversation around an entity, an organization, a professional, and with that conversation, how you're adding to their reputation, how you're building that particular brand, how you're speaking to different stakeholders. So in times to come, wherever and whatever would be required in terms of being part of conversation and the medium which is enabling these conversations, be at the industry level, we are going to actually go ahead and actually enable ourselves with the capability to be able to actually bring those ability to actually have those conversations for our brands, for our organizations across medium. So today we are talking about different. There was a time when digital came in, and then now within digital there is new advent of influencer that is coming in, and now with that we also starting to see some productivity tools which are AI enabled. But everything will boil down to one simple fact, that our ability to drive those conversations and mediums are expanding, and similarly our capabilities and our capacity building needs to be done accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Pooja and then Vineet. Hi. Hi, Pooja. Hi.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Sreekant. I think for us, it's clearly about owning the relationship, about being custodians of that relationship. We've never really seen specialist agencies as competition. I think horses for courses. At the same time, one understands a client's need to consolidate, as some of my friends have already spoken about it. So
Right.
Everything said and done, I think to simply put it, I believe in owning that relationship. And I think that has worked well for us over the years and historically at Concept PR.
So what is valuable in the relationship, everything is around that, right?
Yes, because when you look at I mean, today anyways, the buzzword is integrated communication. The lines between advertising, PR were always blurring, very difficult to tell. They were always considered sibling of the same communication matrix. So how far is too far to us has never been a question. I think it's about ultimately getting the job done, ultimately getting the client what,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And Vineet, hi. Hi, Vineet.
Hey, Sreekant, thanks, and privileged to be here with all of you. I think how far is too far, honestly, is how strong you are.
Okay.
So, you know, if we are clear that we are a PR agency, we are the custodian of the brand messaging. And if we remember that, all of other things will start falling in. And in our case, and I'm just bringing you a live case study here because all other parts have been talked about. Most of our discussion and most of our innovation, most of our expansion, everything is around what clients are looking at and what clients want us to do. Most of the time in our relationship, and we all have witnessed this at some time, the client comes back, hey, can you help us with this as well? Right. And I think that's the tipping point for how far. Now, I also want to bring in a very important aspect. Is this question relevant for advertising agency today? Probably not.
No, but I think it's happening in most communication agencies. I think they start here and look at media agencies, some of the large ones, they do a lot of things. They're bigger than many of the creative agencies, you know?
So understand, for them, moving to a lot of these things is a natural progression, because otherwise they'll finish, right? For PR, this is what clients are asking for. We are considered in a manner. Now, also, I'll bring you another point, that none of the advertising agencies getting into PR.
Well, they did originally, and then kind of they gave up, right?
They did, but today, if we really look at, we are getting into that space, and I'm just creating a very different debate here.
Please.
That how far is too far. So from my point of view, if we are thinking growth, if we are thinking future, nothing is far. And understand, we are no more just a communications agency. If there are people sitting in this panel, they are consulting them on research, they are consulting clients on ESG. There are a lot of those conversations. There is a client where I am not doing any communication, but just giving them the buzz from the ground. So the point what I'm trying to say is how strong you are in your core. That's first, which helps you to build trust. And that's where we start building other narratives around it, or more businesses, which is the growth for us.
Okay. So I'm going to ask each of you a question. Okay. Vineet, let me start with you. I'll go from V to A. Okay. So what percentage, I'm not asking about your firm. Let's take the top 20, let's say top 10 or top 20 PR firms in India. Okay. So this is a question. What percentage of their revenue comes from activity which would not be considered traditional PR activity today? Just take a guess. Out of 100 rupees that they earn.
So my feeling is largely it would be anywhere between 25 to 40, and I still feel that 60% of revenues for us would be from a PR and PR related stuff.
Pooja, hi. What's your guess?
Yeah, I'd like to hover in the same region. 25 to 40% would be non-PR or
right.
Yeah.
All right, Kunal. Sorry, you're mute.
Okay, my assessment right now, and it's not a I'm giving you approximate assessment.
Yeah, of course, it's approximate.
About 35% right now.
Okay, that's actually remarkably so far in line. It's in the same space. Karan, hi. What about you? What's your guess?
Yeah, it falls similar. It's about 35 to 40%. But what I like to add is, more often than not, these end up being far more profitable in nature.
Really?
So it's not just about revenue; it's about the margin that you're able to extract.
Sure. I was that was my next question. So
I'm sorry I preempted it, but
okay.
Hi, 45%, and like Karan said, very profitable, and that's a conscious move from our part.
But by the way, I must tell you, when I came into this conversation, I guessed from my whatever little conversations I had, I guessed around 25. So this is higher than I thought. So the next question is to all of you. Now it's open, okay? So I'm not really going turn by turn. Please, you have 15 minutes, so just feel free to pick up as you feel, right? Is this percentage still growing? Because when you cross 50%, when it crosses 50%, one has to ask whether you're a PR firm at all and whether you're a diversified communications agency. No?
I'll come in here. I think in times to come, it will, and I think it'll also tilt towards even going beyond 50%. And the reason is that there are mediums that are coming our way, which is going to be bigger in scale and bigger in terms of spends than what a retailer could possibly.
Give me one or two examples of the ones which are growing fastest.
I can give you example currently, like just for one campaign, if I'm working for a client with a retainer cost of 5 lakh, sometimes in a month, I'm actually spending on influencers more than 1 crore. So you could see the considerable addition that is happening in terms of the revenue that will come, and it is likely to, and it will happen, because imagine what has changed around us. If you look at the consumer, they're consuming content not through the habitual behavior of looking at newspapers or looking at television news or even going through an app. They're all discovering content. And where are they discovering content? On social media through these content creators. So we have to get into that medium where the content creators are the discovery medium for the consumer to actually discover things.
Okay.
So if the brand has to look at, they have to actually start.
So just to, Sreekant, just to put in,
Good.
it is bound to happen. In fact, if you really look at a lot of these PR agencies do not have PR as their, in their names now. They're just brands, right?
Correct.
Kaizen dropped, Kaizen Communications or Kaizen PR was dropped.
That's a
long
very
back,
good
some
point.
3 years. Yeah. So it's actually gonna happen probably, or it's already happened, honestly, if I really say,
Right.
because that's the way people are really looking at. People are not looking to you only for those those as in previous conversation, that so many clips or front page coverages. So people are always looking at not only that, but people are looking plus. So that is hygiene for us, right? That's something which people come, but then how much plus you can give is what people are looking
Actually,
at.
one of the things is, Vineet, is that, you may not have a agency, may not have PR in the name. I always like to go to a website of a company, of a consultant, as well as any firm, and see what does that say? What does the website say? Because it has to say something. It has to either say PR or it will say communications, right? So will it, Karan, you were making a point about some of the new streams are more profitable, right? Is that because PR is a mature business and more competitive, and these newer fields have bigger margins? Is that why?
So can I take a step back? Because I think both the previous question and this question can be answered slightly differently. I think we need to stop being apologetic about new services and think it's not PR. We need to stop apologetic about new services.
All right.
It is PR. PR is not synonymous to press release.
Right.
PR means storytelling. It's got earned at the heart of it, but storytelling could be internal, external, stakeholder management. Stakeholder management, the new age is influencer management. But let's be honest, last 40 years, whether it's KOLs, whether it's stakeholders, PR agencies have held and managed those relationships, right? So the way you can look at it is this percentage will increase, but as this percentage increases, we will not go away from being a PR firm. Storytelling being earned at the heart of it, and stakeholder management is going to remain central to what we do. The outputs will change. The outcomes will change.
Karan, but if I may argue that, everybody now is a storyteller.
Correct.
Right. By the way, I mean, storytelling has taken a new positive connotation. In the past, it was like Kahani Sunata Hai, right? It was like the implication was
a tail spinner.
Sorry.
Tail spinner.
Yeah, tail spinner. So now there's a positive thing, but I could argue that everybody says they are storytellers. So
correct.
Then what distinguishes, say, a PR firm from some other firm?
So which is what I said.
We have a new mix in the fray where everybody is not just a storyteller, but everybody is also a journalist today.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry, we were talking about profitability, right? Yeah. That was the thing, yeah. And what has influencer marketing, and Kunal could mention the example of influence. So is influencer marketing the big thing that's driving the diversification, as it were?
It will take a center stage right now. So right now, out of the total digital ad spends that brands are doing, only less than 2% is being yet spent on influencer marketing. And look at US market, that percentage has gone up to 25%. So you're looking at the ceiling going, we have a high ceiling to cover right now. And considering India being a market which has now 80 million content creators, it has creating a network of these many people who could speak brand story to the consumer. So you are just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. You would see how this is going to become a different animal altogether.
So, Sreekant, it's also, sorry, it's also.
Yeah, please go ahead. Now is the time we can all interrupt each other. Please go ahead.
It's also content, which is playing a big role. And the content that you were used to churning out now has budgets attached to it. You could do a really compelling video asset, and it gets a lot of attention, a lot of shareability and talkability, and that becomes a big revenue earner in addition to your fee and your influencer commissions and so on. So I think if you have the capability of coming up with great ideas and then flipping it over into content, and that gets stretched into your PR campaign. Now, you'd also ask me what's pure play PR, and that I think the definition doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
That's my submission.
So, but I think
I just wanted to add a point on Kunal. I'm sorry interrupting you.
No,
You
please.
know, I'm sure a lot of people must have read this story from BBC last week, I think around 10 days back.
Hmm.
And it clearly says the next generation journalists are influencers. So influencers are the
Really?
journalists, and this is a conversation globally coming up. And if you really look at what is happening in India government is already putting in those norms and stuff, fake news, and a lot of progression has happened in that sense. So I think what Kunal is saying definitely is a huge area. You know, and in India is also a very interesting market in a sense, because if you really look at probably the only market in the world and wherein still Jagran and Bhaskar are growing in double digit. Means which country in the so you understand the very interesting part here is everything coexists.
Yeah, indeed, it's a very good point. I totally agree with it. Pooja, you were saying something? Sorry.
Yeah, I think I was saying that one thing that has remained a constant, regardless of the mediums on which we communicate or the ways in which we communicate, is that content is always king. And I think gone are the days when paid content or paid media was considered a taboo or a pariah. I think clients today are very aware of paid content, of paid media. The peso model, more than anything else, is very relevant today. Clients are asking for it on the front foot. And I think more and more agencies are presenting solutions as part of their communication matrix, which present paid media content as well.
But Pooja, I'm glad you brought up this point. The thing is that one of the things which has traditionally PR agencies said was that we don't do paid media. Okay, that's the realm of agencies, ad agencies, correct? So, but now, so I think I have a question, and as we wind up, we have 6 minutes. My question actually is this: that this takes you really far away from where you have begun, right? So it changes the nature of the business because you are now in the paid media business as well for the 35%. Not all of it, but for some of it, right? That's one. The other thing is that I think the other question is that when your agency is called for a business pitch, what is your identity? What are you called as? Are you called the PR, Vineet, I mean, to take your point, maybe PR is no longer the suffix, right? But the fact is, do they call you because you're a PR agency or do they call you for some other reason? And I think that is a key question of what your identity is with potential clients. Would you disagree?
I think very clearly more and more agencies today are describing themselves as integrated communication consultancies. We've always worked in the model of being communication partners, of being communication custodians to our clients, of working like an extended team for themselves. And that is where I think the client ownership relationship lies.
Sorry, anybody else have a different take?
Yeah,
very interesting.
Vineet, go ahead. I'll go after you. No problem.
Go ahead, Karan. You go ahead. I've taken a lot of footage already.
Often at times, I think the percentage, Sreekant, is pretty similar to the spread of business. So for 35% of business, we don't get called in as a PR agency. We are sometimes competing with the likes of heavyweight creative/digital agencies. There are times we are competing against very specialized research agencies because a lot of work we do is analytics led. Whether it is trying to ascertain what to arrive at, or sometimes when it comes to effectiveness and efficacy of a program. So a lot of times we are in completely standout against the rest of the ecosystem out there. And that again is going to keep on changing because as the spread of business grows, as we get more experts in-house and train people whom we've already got on board, the mix is only going to get more and more.
Okay, so one more question. Sorry, Vineet, you wanted to say something, please?
I wanted to add here that very interestingly in the recent few months and few of quarters, we are seeing that some of the biggest brands are reaching out to, like digital agencies. It's a norm that they will come out for a small, very focused campaign driven approach. In PR, it is always annual contract, looking at a larger strategy. But now we are seeing a lot of such brands are now coming out to PR firms for specific campaign-driven 4-week campaign, which is also changing from a client side. So our perception within the client side is also changing from being just a PR partner or communication partner, looking at us as a holistic partner, which can actually
But
build a
Kunal, if I may interrupt you, actually the same thing happened in advertising. There used to be retainerships, and now a lot of the advertising is project based, right? I mean, there is a agency on record, but somebody else is doing a lot of the other work.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
Sreekant, just to add on to what Kunal has said and otherwise, it's about not also how agencies are changing, how clients are changing, how clients are
Good point.
open to talk. So, means we can talk about that we offer this, but are clients open to take our services? And I think that's what, and if I really look at that particular sort of segment, I see in last 3 years, and I'm talking about my own bunch of clients, at least 25 to 30% of clients are really looking at talking to us, and which is a great push and which is a great direction for us, because if this is the pace it's growing, I'm sure it's gonna be a very soon more than 75% clients looking at us very seriously.
Okay, so we have, I think, just 1.5 minutes left. So I'm going to ask you one last question, also a fact-based question. Okay, I mean, this time I'll start with A. Okay, so if we were all sitting together 3 years from now, okay, I mean, you put the figure at 45% just now. What do you think the figure might be 3 years from now? For non-PR business.
I don't think you'll be able to qualify that, because I think the lines will be blurred. I think the pure play PR in the sense that you describe it would not be as clearly defined as it is today.
What if I cussedly insisted that you give me a figure?
I'd say for most agencies, equal or more.
Equal or more, 50, it will be 50 or 50 or plus.
Yeah, for us it may be even more, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay, good. Karan?
I'll tell you what the dream figure is. The dream figure is inverse the ratio.
65, I'm sorry, 35, 40, so 65, 60, 65 basically, right?
Yeah.
That's your dream.
Yeah, that's the dream. The stretch is to reverse the figure.
Wow, okay. Kunal?
I agree with Karan. I think we should be, in 2.5 years' time, you'll see that change happening in most of the agencies. It will be across.
Wow, that's really something. Pooja?
Yeah, I see it as an upward trajectory, clearly going towards the 50% mark.
Okay. And Vineet?
I would probably, and that's the way I really look at how many integrated campaigns and only how many PR campaigns. So it's I think the PR or the integrated campaigns will become the way. And I think that's where we have to take all the PR clients to the integrated side, and that's the victory.
Good. This really been, I wouldn't have thought that in 30 minutes back that we could pack so much into, just 1800 seconds.
Kudos to you, Sreekant.
Hey, thanks to all of you. So actually the one question which I couldn't ask, and maybe it's for another time, is what is it doing to the culture of your companies? Because if the nature of the work changes, the kind of people who come change, your training, everything changes, right? Your very approach to brand communication changes.
That's a session in itself.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.